I'm so excited to share some space with you virtually. My name is Melva LaJoy Jones, and let's get into it. This presentation is titled Personal Pandemic and the Path That Follows for a Reason. So, to kick us off, I want to definitely set some expectations, some intentions that I have between you and I. So the first thing you should know is that this presentation is not a virtual skill building presentation, but this is a presentation of how to position yourself in this season. So the first thing I'd like to do, hopefully, is to shift your mindset. The second thing that I hope to do is to demonstrate the power of storytelling by telling you a little bit about me as an effort to help you in your journey ahead. And then the third thing, I am a former teacher. That was my first career before transitioning to events management 20 years ago. I got to leave you with some homework. So let's get started. So I want to ground us in where we all are. This is a once in a century experience for any professional, and especially the event professional. So what do we know? We know that over half of us are acquiring new skills. That's why you're here today, right? We need to know how to do virtual events. We need to know how to manage remotely. We need to know how to engage and support our colleagues. And so all of us are going through this transition. And at the same time, unfortunately, too many of us are experiencing very real duress. And so if you are someone listening to me, know that I am empathetic to you if you were furloughed, if you were laid off, if you're underemployed or had your salary reduced. And we also know that so many of us are working on our living off of our emergency fund, which is now the pandemic fund. And then lastly, right, we're all trying to look ahead to the future. If you're like me, when this started in March, what did we tell ourselves? We'll be back in the summer. And in the summer, we'll be back in the fall. And now we're in the fall, and we're looking for any indication that in 2021, things will be back. Different, but back. But we're getting these signals from larger companies, Facebook as one of them, that live events aren't coming back until later in 2021. And so as the pictures show, as we're homeschooling, as we're trying to connect with our colleagues virtually, as we're using masks as our favorite accessory, of course, we're struggling to get up every day, to push ourselves, to stay motivated. And so I want to talk through how I've been able to do that through telling you a story. So the promise of the personal pandemic. Let's get personal for a second. My personal pandemic started in 2018. In 2018, my father, Melvin, who is my namesake in my heart, would have 6 strokes, 5 brain bleeds, 1 brain surgery. And as if that wasn't already enough, and that was significant, I would have that same year, 2018, 2 life-changing surgeries, one in August, one in December, that would necessitate me learning how to walk again. And so what happens when you're in the midst of a pandemic? Not unlike what we're in the midst of right now. Anxiety creeps in, the doubt. How am I ever going to do this? And as a planner, right? Someone who's always used to being on in service of other people. What about my career? How am I going to keep up? So after 2018, what would happen in February of 2019 when I recovered enough is I would rebuild my business, LaJoy Plans, to be the most financially successful year in 2020, pre-COVID. And so what's the point of telling you this story? Here's the point. Doubt always loses. And when I say doubt always loses, I genuinely mean that. Because here's the thing. All of my doubts, all of the things that I thought would happen as a result of my father's health challenges, my health challenges, didn't come true. I'll get back to that in a second. So the second promise of the personal pandemic is that you have to level up. So here I am, a COVID event professional, and business is not the same. So just to paint the picture for you, in 2020, pre-COVID, we would have had 40 events, all of which, except for 3, were canceled. Canceled. That money was gone. And so I could stay in that moment. And to be clear, I did for a little bit because that grieving had to happen. But then I had to look at things differently. And so what did we do? We launched a new website anyway. We launched a webinar series anyway. We became certified through PCMA in digital event strategy because the promise of a personal pandemic is that how you started and how you ended will never be the same. Your skill enhancement is inevitable. And then the last thing, third thing that happens in a personal pandemic, it helps you clearly identify your tribe. And that is so important. Why is that so important? Because we're not meant to go through pandemics in isolation, even if all we can do is connect virtually. What do I mean? Well, and I'm embarrassed to admit I have so much material. There was a moment in my life where I was making a lot of money and I was burning through that money. And guess what? People were helping me burn through that money. And when that money went away, and I had a piece, literally one piece of furniture and ramen noodles, like in the white cup that you put boiling hot water, not the fancy in the restaurant, it showed me who was going to stay with me in my pandemic season, my financial pandemic season, and who fell by the wayside. And I'm so grateful to have that information so that I know what relationships to nurture. Also, that time helped me identify where I may need to cultivate relationships because relationships are what will sustain you. And so I mentioned a homework assignment. So here it is. It's 3 things. Number 1, if you do nothing else today for yourself or over the weekend, I want you to document your personal pandemic narrative and ask yourself this question: what was the worst case scenario? For me, going back to my story, it was that I could never walk again, which is untrue. It was that I would be so broke that I would have to move home as a very mature person, also untrue. I want you to hold on to that personal pandemic story for yourself as a reminder that you are capable enough. You are resourceful enough. You are enough. And diminish the doubt because it's always wrong. Your story does that for you. Number 2, using that same personal pandemic or another one, I want you to think about what were the skills you acquired because of your personal pandemic. For me, I'm a former educator, and in this season, this is the most public speaking I have ever done. I love to write. This is the first moment that I've had a published article in some years. Now I'm a digital event strategist and I'm able to service new and different and interesting clients. So hone in to the skills that your personal pandemic provides you. And then lastly, it's time to evaluate relationships. You got to do it because let's be honest, this season is draining. So I encourage you to identify the 3 to 5 relationships that are currently nurturing you and pour into them. But more importantly, I want you to identify the 3 to 5 relationships that you need to cultivate. Because 2020, in my humble opinion, is planting season. You got to plant some seeds. 2021, in a season that is beyond this, is harvesting season. And that is my hope for all of you. And I found this quote because our time is just going by so quickly that I wanted to share with you as we get ready to close out. And if you have questions, drop them in the box. The quote reads, "Being challenged is inevitable. Being defeated is optional." And with that, I am going to leave you with something else I heard recently. It says this: hold on, pain ends. Or another way to say that, hope. So my hope for anyone listening is as you continue to enhance your skills, as you continue to get through this now normal, that you find at least one moment in every day that is a bright spot. And again, hold on, pain ends, hope. Stay connected with me. I am great electronically, not as great over the phone. And with that, I will close. And if you have any questions, drop them in the box. Thank you. And I'm going to get some caffeine because I need it. Sometimes I get asked, whatever happened to my father. So after those health situations, my dad was ultimately diagnosed with dementia. He is very much here in his heart, and it is my honor to be his caregiver. Other questions we've been asked is about our virtual events. So when we pivoted, we started to see events come back for us in August. And so we've collaborated with a lot of our larger agencies in the DC metropolitan area. And so we're currently doing virtual conferences servicing 150 guests up to, I want to say the largest was 10,000 guests. In addition to beginning to have those conversations with clients about hybrid events. If you want to reach out and connect with me, I'm happy to share with anyone the technology that we've used. We haven't found a one-size-fits-all solution for all of our clients, because I think what you'll learn is that there are trade-offs in the virtual event space. And so my advice to you from a virtual event context is really qualify with your clients their business requirements. Bizzabo may be great, Zoom may be great, On24 may be great, but it has to fit their content objectives and their business requirements. I'm getting the countdown. Have a great day. Thank you.